Batman, LB, Rupert, Albert, and the Bishop Paul Brown. Batman for the 2020-2021. And you know what it is. You know Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego too. This is Paul and Rupert's
We're back!
Coming out with a brand new thought, covered under the blood in which we were born. So we know how to get to.
Is for bold, A is for active, D is for determined. When you consider King David valiantly, you have an idea and understanding of taking this. Stay tuned, y'all.
Hallelujah, revive us again.
We are excited to bring fresh commentary, good conversation with two bad men. Boy, you don't want to miss this. Bad Man for Christ. Join us.
Stands for determined, just like Peter when he did his first sermon. As the saying goes, bad men for Christ. That is how we'll be for the rest of our life. Sit back, relax, and enjoy our show because you're stuck in the house with nowhere to go.
Welcome.
Yes. Welcome.
Bad Man for Christ. I have to apologize. Our special guest is not Deborah Johnson, but that was a mistake. That was my bad. So, Bishop Brown, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing excellent.
We just want to welcome all the wonderful watchers and listeners to our Bad Man for Christ show. We are back again, and we're back together again. It's been a couple weeks since we've been all together, but God is good, and we are just welcome everyone to our Bad Men for Christ. I'm Rupert Johnson. I'm here with my co-host, no other person than Bishop Paul Brown. God bless you, sir.
Amen. God bless you. Welcome everyone to, as our overseer said, to another edition of our Bad Man Show.
Yes,
I'm delighted to have you. We invite you into our space, into our studio, and we're expecting a great time on this evening.
Amen. So, Bishop, we haven't been together for a while. So, I know you're a big deal. You were at a bishop's meeting last week. Anything you want to share with us? Anything you want to share with us, little people, and we know what over that bishop's meeting?
Oh, well, overseer, like I've always said to you before, I'm working on a slot for you at the bishop's table. So you won't have to ask any questions. You will get it firsthand.
I'll see what happens with that one. Look at me. I'm not used to the collar. I'm loose. I don't know if I can do it. But it's great, But so today's show, we have a great show today. But it's interesting because as men of Christ and as African Americans in this country, me and you being both born in Jamaica, there's only a few ways that Black men can kind of strive and prosper in this country as we know it at this point. You can either be an athlete or be an entertainer, or you have to kind of get in there and own your own business, or be your own boss in some way. Those are the ways to do it, and that's what we know.
Yeah, and I agree with you, overseer. And as you and I had conversation in the past, even as pastors, we have to employ the geniuses that God has given us, because just looking at the plate is not going to be sufficient to establish and to extend the kingdom of God. And so we have to explore other venues. But as you said, for our show tonight, we have a very special guest.
Yes,
someone someone you have known, someone who is a pastor, is in the pastoral ministry, also is a businessman.
Yes,
and so we want to welcome to our show for the first time Pastor Seth Taylor, and to all our guests, let us welcome for the first time to the Bad Man Show, Pastor Taylor. Oh, we're glad to have you. We're glad to have you, Pastor Taylor.
Yes, sir.
Pastor Taylor, I want to get started quickly, and I want to shoot the first question to you. I would like for you to share with our audience just a little snapshot, not too much, a little about yourself, personal, your person, yourself, your profession, and your ministry. If you could just encapsulate those three things in a nice package for our guests, so that they will have an idea as to you and what you will be bringing to the show tonight.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for having me, Bishop and Overseer. I want to thank you very much. We're glad to be a part of the show tonight. I watched your show numerous times, and just glad that we can be on the live tonight. I'm excited about this. I told my church yesterday that I want people to subscribe and be able to watch the show today. Just to give you a little overview of myself, I'm a 28 years old married man, married to a beautiful woman with 4 children and 1 grandson, and born and native born of the country of Liberia, with an African American background, as an Americo-Liberian, and a graduate of 2 separate universities. Hold degrees in both management and theology, and currently work for New Jersey, pastor with the United Pentecostal, ordained minister of the United Pentecostal Church International, pastor here in the city of Trenton, New Jersey, and currently working as the CEO of New Life Group, New Life Pharmaceutical, working with some great, wonderful men of God, and they're just trying to do the little that God has planted us on earth. Thank you very much.
Oh, wonderful.
Wonderful answer. Yeah, those guys you're working with over there, they're awesome. They're awesome.
Yes, I know a couple.
I know a couple. so Pastor, you mentioned you are from Liberia. So tell me some of the differences of living in Liberia versus living in the United States. What are some of the differences?
One of the things is the system. The system, there's a system here you can't bypass. Unlike uniform-wise pleasure, Liberia is a pleasurable country, very highly religious, even though not totally safe. 90% of the population profess to be Christians, about 3% are Muslim, and the rest of them profess not to be Muslim, not to be Christian, but mostly lean on the Christian side. Food is pretty much little slight different from the United States, but traditionally you have both traditional African food as well as Native American food that is used there. It has 2 different type of cultures. You have the American-Liberian culture and then the additional culture. Well, in terms of development, the United States is well developed, as you all know. Liberia is an underdeveloped country, has a very rich resources. Unfortunately, there's a high level of, just what practice in third world nations. A lot of bartering system. You can't buy nothing without negotiating the price. Somebody gives you a bottle of Coke, you say, what's the next price? Well, you can't do that. You can't ask for a second price. The opportunities in the United States are way, way bigger than the opportunities in Liberia. There is not a middle class in Liberia. You're either very poor or you were rich. And in order for you to be well rich, you got to be in politics and be extremely corrupt in order for you to be well rich. But in the United States, there's opportunity of be able to start from the ground level and build up,
right?
Educational wise.
So let me
hold on before you go on. I gotta, because I was a librarian, because when I wasn't here on the show and you were making fun of me over Sir Brown, I was Bishop Brown. I was actually Liberia. So
that's where you came back without any money.
That's it. That's why I came back without nothing. But let me say this, because you were talking about the bargaining. The funniest thing that to me was when I went to buy something for my wife for a souvenir. So I said, "Hey, how much is this?" And the lady said to me, 2015. So I said, $20.15. And luckily, Overseer Nugma was with me. And he said, no. This means $20 is the highest you pay for it, and 15 the lowest. I said, why did you tell me 15? I'm not going to pay 20 if I can pay 15. Well, what's 2015? Oh, yeah, but okay. But that was a crazy part to me. Sorry. Okay, go ahead, sir.
No. So, Pastor Taylor, what I want to do was kind of extend that question a little bit. I wanted to ask you, since many folks here in the United States do not know much about the U.S. and Liberia, can you share with us some just an overview of the relationship between the United States and Liberia?
Well, thank you very much. That's a very good question. Most of the thing is that Liberia is considered to be the stepchild of the United States. And it is predominantly Americanized when it comes down to Western culture. As you know, in the 1800s, during the abolition of slavery, there was a group called the American Colonization Society that was formed yet in the U.S. to be able to identify a land on the African continent where Black Americans or Black folks would be returned to Africa, having brought here and stay here for years as slaves. Now that slavery was over, they decided to find a place where there was some individual, both Black and white, that rejected the idea to create an African-American colony on a continent. But there were some influential people in that particular body that still made it, possible for them to send two men, Julie Ashman and another guy, David Livingstone, who was sent to take a voyage to the continent. And when they got there, they couldn't find a place. There was another group that left, by 88 men that boarded the ship to go and see what possibility could. A lot of them died when they landed on Chevron Island in Sierra Leone. Unfortunately, stay within the same setting of time. A U.S. Navy vessel also boarded some other men, and they were able to find this green land called Liberia, the land of the free. And that's how there's an island, a little bit of island that sits in the middle of the city, have border with the Atlantic Ocean, almost like a peninsula, that called the Providence Island. They landed there. There was a gentleman by the name of King Long Peter. That's how they describe him, but he had an indigenous name, but he was very tall, and they just call him King Long Peter. And they negotiated, and the first man landed there. And after that, there were African American leaders from the 1844 all the way to 1980. And the last African American who was dethroned out of office by a indigenous guy by the name of Samuel Doe, killed him, William R. Tolbert. And that's how it was. Up to that point, the legal tender currency of Liberia was U.S. currency. There were no Liberian dollars. The city Monrovia is named after U.S. President James Monroe. The free port of Monrovia was built by the U.S. military. The airport of Liberia was built by the U.S. government, owned by the U.S. government. And as a matter of fact, even to today, U.S. currency is highly, it's one of the countries on the African continent. You don't have to exchange the money to use U.S. currency. You can buy on the local market. And they prefer U.S. currency in Liberia. When you speak to a Liberian about the U.S., that relationship is so strong. Its traditional may not be as we thought it to be, but I can emphatically say that the relationship is very good. In the days before the war, it was easy for a Liberian to come to the United States. As a matter of fact, in the heat of the war, Liberia was one of the countries that the United States government established a program called resettlement. Never, ever. It was not a refugee program. It was a program called a resettlement for those Liberians that left the continent to come back to North America. And that's how strong it is. So the streets are named after American, the town. You don't have to translate when you go to Liberia. Now you might run into a problem with the accent. And Reverend Johnson can share that with you.
Yeah.
Because they talk a little bit fast and they're very sensitive. And Liberia is the only country, and I'm not very sure of other countries, but Liberia that I know in the Constitution, I know only black people can become citizens of the Republic of Liberia. Up
Okay.
to this
Yeah.
it was considered meaning for free black men. So you as a black man in America, you will easily be welcome to Liberia than any other country on the continent. You know, and that's how good it is, and that's how pleasurable it is. You talk about pleasure, good time, education, everything. As a matter of fact, even the history is American history. Liberia does not have our own history books. All of the learning of everything is all about America. So that's
wonderful. So overseer, did you feel that when you were there 2 weeks ago? Like
I felt like a big dog in that country.
Oh my goodness!
I felt. The people are really nice, and once they hear, the American accent that I have, they really are really just like super welcoming, right? Oh, how you doing? And it's really like, it's not okay. So going to Liberia, you have to be used to me being from the Northeast. People don't. We can walk by, no one's gonna say hi. In Liberia, you walk by somebody, they're saying hi. Young or old, it doesn't make a difference. You walk by somebody saying, "Hey, how you doing? How you doing? How are you?" And they're okay, good. So you have to get ready to. You just can't be like, "Are you talking to me?" Just instead of that. But so it's really good. It's really good. So also, please know that we're asking everybody, please don't forget to subscribe and to like our page. Join us on YouTube and Facebook. And if you have any questions, please send your questions in for Pastor Taylor. We're going to talk to him a little bit more about different things. But Pastor Taylor, we talked a little bit about Liberia, and I'm sure we can talk about, there's a lot more history that you did not talk about when we were talking. Me and you have spoken, and I know a little bit about the history of Liberia, but we have a lot to talk about too, because with Liberia, you talked about being a third world country, and you talked about being in the business of healthcare. And I know that one of your desires is to improve the healthcare in third world countries like Liberia. So I'd like to ask you, when did you arrive to that decision to kind of go out there and try to see if you can help do anything when it comes to healthcare in this world?
Having been a Liberian myself and fortunate to live in the United States all these years, looking at where Liberia have come from, the John F. Kennedy Memorial Hospital, built by the U.S. government, named after the late John F. Kennedy, who was president of the United States. That particular hospital was known as the referral hospital on the entire west coast of Africa. And it has some of the most qualified doctors. You talk about specialists. You couldn't tell any difference when you went to JFK than, like you were in the U.S. You talk about some very good doctors. Most of the doctors from Liberia studied in the United States. There's especially on the USA program, a lot of good things happen. Well, because of during the heat of the war, a lot of things break down, and there were a lot of infiltration of a lot of medication that was substandard from these other nations where there's no check and balances. I did a program in 2010. We sponsored that was one of the different business that I had, nonprofit. We did a pilot program to try to see what was going on, realizing that the mortality rate in Liberia is very, very high. What can we do to make a difference as an indigenous blessed? I kind of position myself like a Nehemiah. I've come outside of Israel, and the walls in Liberia are broken down. Well, what can I do? Should I be complacent and sit here, enjoy all of this good thing? Or should I act like the 10 lepers? I mean, the 4 lepers, and say, you know what? Let me go back and share the good news to my brothers. What can I do? And pray and ask God that He will put some good men like you in my path, and that we'll be able to see how we can give back to our homeland. And based on that, we did something that was very knowledgeable. But then in 2019, it was very interesting that I was Bishop Stephen Bednar, who is the current superintendent for the Republic of Liberia, had asked me to come to Liberia and participate, in preaching his program. I mean, 2020, sorry, January 2020. Bishop Bednar asked me to come and preach his 20th anniversary. And while we were there, there were conversations were being held. And the thought process going on, thinking about it, then I got a phone call from my partner and business partner and brother, Reverend Johnson, who shared the exact like.
What? oh my goodness!
What? Oh,
I shouldn't have asked that question. Oh my goodness!
Wow, that was me. Okay, go ahead. Finish your story. It's really getting good right now. Finish it. Go ahead. Finish it.
It was a good revelation, and God sealed it up. And then from there, we felt like having had so many meetings, met some people that I never thought I would have met. I've been living in Liberia for years way back. The Lord put some very positive people in our path. And then we realized that Liberia were infested with a lot of substandard medications. And people were dying. Doctors had the knowledge, but did not have the resources. So we felt like we can come back and see how we can reestablish U.S. FDA pharmaceuticals taken back to the nation to help save lives. As you know, the best nation on earth is this. And our FDA is like, the top of the crown when it comes down to medication, and I'm very proud of living here in the U.S. as an American myself.
Wow. Yeah. Hey, overseer. Time is kind of going. Do we have a question? Can we shoot a question to Pastor Taylor? Get our audience involved a little bit in this.
We have one. My special guest co-host from last week is throwing one out. He's saying, "What is the education and healthcare system like?" I think you touched upon it, but if you can kind of give it a little bit of strength. What's the education and healthcare like in Liberia?
Education is like the United States, the same grading system, the same way it is structured. Healthcare in Liberia is patterned after the United States as well. It's the same thing, but what is the difference between the both is that the resources are not there. If you talk about, for example, you talked about blood work. Well, here blood work is done over there. They may put your finger, still doing the olden days thing, put your finger and put a slide on there, to do and put you under the microscope. Where here you have a phlebotomist that takes the and because it's not that they do not have the knowledge, but the resources and the materials. For example, Liberia do not have at all a dialysis unit in the country. No dialysis.
Wow.
So if you have kidney problem, that's a death sentence.
Wow.
And if you have a cardiac problem, there is no, even to get an EKG, the simple EKG in Liberia, it's not that you don't have the qualified manpower, but they do not have the equipments and the knowledge is not there. So, and then it comes down to diabetes. Diabetes in Liberia, when I was there in 2010, is considered to be one of the green zones of Liberia. Up to now, folks cannot put a hand on how to be able to control, the diets and whatever, and dietitian and living healthy. Despite the fact that everything that is growing in Liberia, most of it is organic. Wild, coming from the people still eat bush meat over there. Like here, you driving on the road and you see a deer laying out by the side of the road. You never see a deer laying by the side of the road over there. It'll be roasted.
Oh my goodness! That means, oh my goodness! Oh,
the country is way behind in technology wise, and again, people are fighting the best they can, making use of the little they can. But healthcare and education, and as well education, it's a big thing in Liberia for improvement in technology wise.
And Bishop Brown, I like tell you that when I was in Liberia, they told me something that I did not know was that prior to the war, Liberia at one point was a 1-to-1 to the U.S. dollar. And if anybody knows finance, that's a big deal. That's back in the 80s. If you were 1-to-1 with the U.S. dollar, that was a very strong economy. Matter of fact, their GDP was second. It was better than Japan's GDP back then. It was the U.S., then Liberia, then Japan for a while. So like, it's not that Liberia never was there. You know, our third world countries were never that high. Liberia was a developing country. It was a powerhouse in Africa for being so small. But then the war came, and well, not when the rumors of the war came, kind of diminished their dollar. But then the war came, and it just devastated their economy. So it's not like they've been in this position for hundreds of years. It's just been recently, since the war. What was the war, Pastor? 1995?
The war started in 1989, and it lasted up to 2006 before there was a general elections to install the first female president. Because when the one that was started in 2001 with Charles Taylor, that didn't go too well with the nation. There were a lot of charges against Charles Taylor. He was a rebel leader over there. And Sierra Leone had launched a litigation lawsuit against him in the national court, where he was found guilty and arrested, and then taken into The Hague, where he is today. But it was, it lasted pretty long, and the effect of it threw the country back about 100 years.
So Pastor Taylor, I'm gonna kind of shift the discussion a little. Being Liberian by birth, I know you're a U.S. citizen. What is it like? What can you share with our audience about starting, operating, and being successful in business here in the United States?
I would say, first of all, you got to have the passion. You got to be convinced in yourself. As a black man in the United States trying to do a business, it is a challenge. There's a lot of odds. There's always a saying that if you don't have money, you try to work with people's money. But it takes a lot of trust for that to happen. But you cannot give up. Make sure you have the qualification to be able to do it, because it comes with the knowledge, it comes with the skills, it comes with how much you be able to put in. And I believe that every man, black man, should be able to put themselves in a position of a business that pays much. And this is my passion. This is what I always thought. If I'm working for John, and John is paying me $50,000 for the year, my thought process is, how much is John making to pay me that $50,000? That means John either is making it now or has a projection that at the end of the day, he's going to pay me what he think I worth, but not really pay me what I worth. And if we carry that passion, and especially as pastors, where we are able to put ourselves in a position to look at the holistic aspect of ministry, to empower ourselves, wherein be able to have a solid backing of our churches, I think it would be a great thing. It would be a great thing, and it helps in evangelism as well.
Yes.
Now, think about this. If you have your assistant pastor full-time, you got a company, and he or she is working in that company full-time, where his health, his or her health benefits is covered. You got a pension, you got a 401k, you got 4 of your ministers that are working, same thing, everything is fine. Now you tell me, who's going to control them? They will be faithful in church. You will never have to worry about them missing services. And when time comes to have a conference, you ain't got to worry about them whether they're going to make it to this conference or not. You have that control. Jesus said that the children of darkness are wiser than the children of light, because we always want to be able to sit in the background. But I believe the change does not happen from the outside to the inside. It happens from the inside out. So if we as black men and be able to put ourselves on the inside, the challenges are there. But if we forge and have consistency, opportunity, make a big difference. God will give us the rest. Remember, all we have to do is to find the red soil in order to deposit a seed and to make sure that the seed doesn't get choked. That's what matters.
Before we take another question from our audience, so Pastor, you advocate then sowing the seed within ministry, within the local church, with young men, young women, for them to actually rise up and become business owners.
Correct.
Okay. Do you see so do we have to collaborate together to get the resources together? So your church, Overseer Rupert's church, the other church down, coming together and putting on certain seminars or classes, training in order that targets the youth within our ministries for them to gravitate to that mindset that you have mentioned.
Absolutely, and this is one of the areas that I feel as pastors, if we are able to divorce our denominational affiliation and get hooked up to the Lord Jesus Christ, where there were not a physical covering, but rather, it was an interpersonal relationship. I can make a big difference where we are able to come together and form ourselves as a body. That there is power when men of faith come together and they break the odds. Where my strength lies, it complement your weakness. Where your weaknesses are, it complement my strength. And where your strength is, complement my weaknesses. So if we are able to come together in our life to create the position of empowerment, that's what matters. If we empower, we're talking about our young men has nothing to do. We're talking about them trying, they're getting hooked up to these gangs. They're getting hooked up to drugs. That's because they have nothing. They have nothing.
Good.
They are written off. They go to prison. They come out. They can't get a job. They're black. First of all, that's already a menace on you. And then secondly, you got a sentence. You cannot fit in our society. But if we are able, there's a saying, the proverb that's saying that the idle mind is the devil's workshop. I always say, well, if we position ourselves well, we can keep Satan unemployed and have our young men and our young women to be trained. When you are able to identify and give somebody something, it helps better when it comes to evangelism. And
excellent. I want to take a question, Overseer.
Yeah, if you have any questions, please shoot them our way. We'll make sure that we'll tell Pastor Taylor or ask Pastor Taylor these questions. We do have a question from our brother James Howell. God bless you, sir. It's good to hear from you. We got a question. How have the coronavirus rate been in Liberia? I know this question because I was just there. But how have the coronavirus rate been in Liberia?
I will be very honest with you. When you get to Liberia and they see you with a mask, they're scared of you. People highly wear masks. I would say the rate in Liberia, because of the Ebola virus, is very low. Liberians have become very cautious and highly preventative. Fortunately, the Lord has really blessed that nation. That Liberia, the coronavirus rate is very, very low. However, they are not taking anything for granted. They're doing everything they can not to be affected like the United States, because they know if Liberia get affected, they are helped right now, which is the U.S. It was the U.S. that helped them beat the Ebola virus. But right now, the U.S. herself is struggling. So God has blessed our nation. The people that are fasting over there, they are praying. People are sitting in the sun, and but the rate of the coronavirus in Liberia is very low among Liberians.
So, Pastor Taylor, Pastor Taylor, so what is your take on the vaccine?
I'm a strong advocate of the vaccine.
Take it. I think you should take it. We all got it. I don't know. It's a simple answer, Pastor Taylor. Take it.
Pastor Taylor, you answer the question here. Oh, don't let Overseer influence you.
All right.
I encourage everybody to take the vaccine. And there is a question that how safe is the vaccine? That vaccination took many, many years. Every Sunday, I encourage my congregation. Our congregation, we're not too many. We run between 60 and 75 right now. And then on a normal time, it's about 100 and 120. But I try to encourage our congregants that, look, man, I took the vaccine myself. the Moderna. I took the 2 series. My wife took the Pfizer. My oldest daughter took the Moderna herself. And my home is fully vaccinated. There's a lot of conspiracy that's going on. I believe it's because of the past administration. I don't want to go there because nobody goes beyond the leader.
we can go there.
Not tonight. Oh no, not tonight. Not tonight.
We would need 3 shows to go there. We could go there.
I think because of the lack of trust and the manner in which the politics play within the healthcare delivery and how the science was categorized has put a lot of doubt in people's minds. It's going to take the church to be able to make a greater impact. It is a shame that the church in the United States is not united, especially on the national level. Compared to the third world countries like Liberia, the church in Liberia is very united. They break those odds. You have different denominations coming together when it comes to national issues and crises. Well, you don't find that here. Maybe because of the federal system. But even in our local state, even in our local cities, I haven't seen that yet. I'm blessed to have Reverend Johnson, and you, Bishop Brown, that I'm able to connect with outside of my fellowship. But I don't have, other people don't have that. I don't even know who the next guy next to me. But I encourage everybody that look the vaccine. However, if you're not convinced and you don't have the faith, and I have no problem if you want to wait, it's okay. But I highly encourage everyone to take the vaccine.
Overseer, we have another question.
Yeah, we do. And just to add on to that too, you were talking, Pastor Taylor, about one thing you said about breaking down the walls and helping business, helping these young folks get in business. That's one of the things that me and Pastor Taylor are doing in the US based business that we have going on. We have been talking to people. We have a young man right now who we're talking to see if he wants to get into the group home business. We're going to mentor him in to how to do it and help him get into that. And we're going to bring that. I mean, you brought up a great, suggestion, Bishop Brown, is that maybe we have to create that platform and begin to show people, okay, we're going to come to your church and going to talk about this product, and we can help you get to that level so you can own your own group home, because there is a vast need for group homes, and it's tedious. You have to be very meticulous. I got a list of 20 things I've got to do tomorrow, but it's enough we can bring. Somebody asked a question. So Albert Minor, one of our producers who came in for some reason, jumped in for a second on our stream. We had to bounce him out real quick.
You see how excited he was? You see how excited he was to be in? He said, I got it. I cracked the code.
I jumped in. I got in. I'm on live. No more background. Okay, so he asked the question: how easy is it to start a business in Liberia?
I will tell you, as a foreigner going to Liberia, it's not simple. It's not simple. Liberia has a system. It comes to credentialing, the same level of standards and credentials you have in the U.S. at the same level. But when it comes to the business aspect itself, you got to be patient. You got to ask God to give you the spirit of revelation, and you got to know who you're dealing with. But as an American, they are very cautious when you go in as an American to do business in Liberia. They're very cautious. If you have the money and you can identify, you do your research well, you can be successful in Liberia. And Liberia is not a credit society. It is a cash society. But because of the war, a lot of systems are broken down. You just got to know who you're talking to and where you're going and connect with the right people. But it is not as easy as folks would think. Now, unless if you're doing like on the side market, maybe you're buying something in plastic bag. But if you want to do something like what we doing in Liberia, it's not something easy, because you will meet people, millionaires, and especially from the other side of the world that are there. You have the Chinese, you have the Lebanese, you have the Indians. Make sure you have money to come back with them folks.
So, Pastor Taylor, we're just so glad to have you. I want to take the last 5 minutes of this show to just really say thank you so much. I want to say to our audience, through Overseer Rupert, I had the opportunity to meet Pastor Taylor, and we have been working towards this international business endeavor, and truly it's a challenge. And it's wonderful, as Pastor Taylor said, that we can cut across denominational lines in order to come together as men of God. And he, in the pastoral ministry, myself and Pastor Johnson, we're just truly appreciative of this opportunity, and we want to kind of encourage that. That's one of the points I believe that is strong in my heart, that would love to establish across the nation. Regardless what denomination you are in, when it comes to coming together as men of God, as Pastor Taylor has been saying, there is power in order to get things done. Your thoughts, Overseer?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And again, we want to thank Pastor Taylor for his time with us on tonight, and we really appreciate it. Matter of fact, you all don't know things that I know about him. He actually works also full time in one of the psychiatric hospitals here in New Jersey. He deals with behavioral guys who are coming in, who are behavioral patients, who have some mental issues in their lives. And some of the stories he tells me, we can't tell here on the raw line because they're crazy. So it's so he sleeps like 2 hours a day, because he leaves there, comes right to the office, and he spends 6, 7, 8, 10 hours there before he goes home. So I don't know how he does it, but I thank God for his partnership, and in bringing in this international piece we just thought it would be simple. The first person that came to my mind was you, Bishop Brown. I told him, I got a perfect guy to join us in this business, was Bishop Brown. So he came on, and we're three-legged of this tripod that are trying to do something special. And I think that one of the things that we just got tonight was, let's create a dynamic that can help the young people, no matter what denomination they are. Just let them come and say, look, I want to learn, I want to grow, I want business, and to become their own boss. So it's a great opportunity. I think we had one more question in there. We don't have
wait. We just want to say, give Pastor Taylor the last 2 minutes. We only have 2 more minutes, and we just wanted to give those last 2 minutes to him for him to greet the audience and share any last words with our audience.
That I was going to say, we have one more question. We cannot get to it.
Okay.
So, yes. See, Pastor Taylor, Bishop went to a meeting last week, and he comes back now because he's a bishop, and he went to a big meeting, and now he's going to make let's do this. I don't know. This is tough. It's tough being me.
You're taking up Pastor Taylor's 2 minutes.
Me. So there you go again. So Pastor Taylor, if you could now just close us out with your thoughts before we give our closing goodbyes. Pastor Taylor, but thanks again. What would you like to close out with and say?
Well, I just want to encourage again. I want to thank you, Bishop and Overseer. I want to truly be grateful for giving me the time. Thank you for having me. And I want to ask everybody, just believe in yourself. Know that in you is a seed, and be able to step out there until you can identify your red soil that you can sow your seed. And don't let your seed fall on just any ground. Believe in yourself. Know you can do it. Have a vision. Go after your vision, and know that you are planted on this side with a gift in you to explore and help mankind. Develop a dynasty for yourself and build a legacy for yourself. I thank you all for having me.
God bless you. Well, we had another great show.
Yes, we thank you, sir.
Yes.
I thank you, my partner and co-host in this endeavor, that we're bringing Bad Man Show live into your neighborhoods. Why? because you're stuck in the house with nowhere to go. So thank you. And to you, Bishop Brown, you can close us out and send us off, sir.
Yes, again, thank you so much, Overseer. Thank you, Pastor Taylor. And with that, we will say, see you next Monday, same time, same place. And join us in another edition of the Bad Man Show. God bless you and have a great week.
Take care.
Bad Man, LB, Rupert, Albert, and the Bishop Paul Brown. Bad Man for the 2020-2021. And you know what it is. You know Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego too. This is Paul and Rupert and we're the new crew. We're coming